Hello everyone and welcome to Summit Point for week 1 of the iRacing 2024 track guides. Yes, probably the most exciting thing on the road side of iRacing with the new update, apart from the rain, has got to be all of the new tracks that the default game is included with. The base game is now going to feature, some of which you might never have driven on before. So what we're going to be doing over the next 12 weeks is showing you guys around all of these circuits. Hopefully these videos are going to help you out if you're a newer iRacing driver. There'll be timestamps linked down in the description below. What I'm going to do is show you a lap time and then break it down, sort of what you want to be aiming for around this circuit. Everything is being done on default conditions. I've literally just loaded in to the iRacing sim, but yeah, this is designed to be for more beginners or people that are obviously new to the iRacing platform and are looking for a good guide that they can actually follow, rather than looking at some world record time that you're never going to be able to emulate. So yeah, like I said, there will be timestamps down in the description below. Leave a like, get yourself subscribed if you do go on to enjoy, and let's head in here with a lap of Summit Point. So, Summit Point then, of course, is a track that has been pretty much base content, I think, ever since it came onto the sim. One of the oldest circuits on the iRacing platform. Obviously just under 2 miles long at 1.98 and features 10 corners. Only really 2 big braking zones, a few others where it is really important to try and get some good weight transfer in the cars as well. But yeah, what I'm going to do is try and get some temperature into those tyres. I will then show you a decent lap time, and then we will have a look on the replays and break it down what you want to be aiming for in this car. Of course, the MX5, one of the absolute stars of the rookie platform on the sim, and a car that even me, that's been playing around with iRacing for close now to a decade, which is rather alarming. This thing is still absolutely fun to jump back into, of course. If you've been away from the sim for the last couple of years, the Global MX5 does now come with ABS and traction control and a fully sequential gearbox as well, so you don't need to worry about losing time with a clutch or anything like that. You can use your flappy paddles, or of course if you've still got a H-pattern box, you can use that as well if your heart so desires. But yeah, I'm going to try and get a good lap on the board then, which hopefully you guys will enjoy. Well, there we go then, a 121.794. We were a little bit ragged through that final corner, but pretty happy with the lap time altogether. Summit Point, luckily, is one of those tracks where it's quite lenient with the track limits, especially through that final corner. You can get all over the outside curbing as well, which is very useful. It allows you to get that run down the start-finish straight then. But yeah, let's take a look at the replay, just see what you want to be aiming for, what you should be looking at around this track. Well, here we go then. We'll try and keep the HUD up so you can take a look at everything that we've got going on behind the scenes. Of course, immediately as you head down in towards turn one, actually very kindly, you have got all these traffic cones on the outside there. Of course, the first one is 5, 4, 3, 2, and then, of course, 1. So as you make your way in towards this first corner, you want to be making sure you're lined up with the white line. And as you can see, as you make your way in, we're trying to break between the 3 and the 2 there. You kind of want to be aiming towards the 2, but I actually find it's a little bit better to break slightly earlier here. As you can see, we're pretty much, halfway in when those brake lights flash up. Of course, you want to try and do as much straight line braking as possible, and then as you see that run off on the outside, just want to start tipping the steering wheel in, and as you really try and get the rotation on, you can see there, if you just slow it down, and if you watch the telemetry as the steering wheel, as we crank on the lock, you can see we're coming off the brake at the same time there. And with this car as well, corner exits are really, really important. So if you have a look there, pretty much by the time we make it to the curb, we've just dabbed the throttle. I actually take more curb on this lap than I wanted to. But yeah, luckily, obviously this isn't a particularly powerful car, so especially for the weight it's got, you can pretty much mash the throttle on corner exit. You'll notice as well, first gear, it is not your friend in this car. It will not serve you nicely around most of these tracks. So you don't want to touch first gear around here at all, even through the slower speed stuff where you think you might. Again, in towards turn 2, you have got this little strip on the outside there over the white line. I'm using it. I wouldn't suggest that it's completely mandatory though, obviously, because effectively this next corner is a slight left into a much tighter one. Very, very difficult to actually spot your braking point as you make your way in. So I'm kind of trying to go just after this little runoff bit again. As you can see, they're making our way in towards there. You see, just as the white line nicks in slightly more there. We'll see if we can have a look at it actually inside the cockpit camera, because this is one of the corners that I really, really struggle with there. You can just see where that white line just kind of crooks in ever so slightly more. That's what we're aiming for down in towards turn 2 then. It is very much just a dab on the brake, just so you get the weight over the front end, which of course allows you the rotation through the corner there. And you can see again on the exit though, got to be really, really careful. You can dip a wheel out in the sandpit, as you can see I just do there, but you will compromise yourself a tiny bit of time. Up in towards this crest though, you can see again you've got this little tarmac strip on the outside. Again, I'm using it. I wouldn't say it's completely required, but it does certainly allow you just to get a slightly better run in towards the next corner there. You can see, just make sure you get off it, so you don't end up on the grass on the way in, and then tip the car in towards this next. I mean, it is a completely flat out corner. You can see I'm not blending the throttle whatsoever through there. But if you find that the front end is sort of pushing out, if you've got a warmer track temperature, for example, you have to make sure at least half of the car is this side of the white line. Otherwise, you're going to compromise your run into the hairpin, and you are going to lose out on a lot of time on the exit of the corner there. Again, on the brakes, you're looking just as you go past. You can see you got this little kind of row of dirt on the outside. So again, if we go into cockpit camera, you'll see pretty much as you get alongside that, you are getting onto the anchors. Like I said, trying to keep as much of the car on the right-hand side of the road on the way in. It actually doesn't work out too badly, though. The corner is slightly cambered on the inside there, so if you're a little bit more towards the apex on the way in, it won't compromise you too much. Plenty of steering lock through here. You can see we're basically not implying any brake or acceleration as you make your way in towards the midpoint of the corner, because this is one of the only corners on the lap where you're not focused on the exit. You actually are better off keeping it tidy, ready for the next hairpin there. You can see, so we do get back on the throttle as we're still trying to put a lot of steering lock in, and then, sorry, if I just slow it down again, you can see pretty much aiming to get the car adjacent with that white line on the outside once again there. And pretty much as soon as you square up and you go along it, you see we get very, very close to the grass again. You are back on the brakes there. Only need to nudge the brake again. It's more about trying to get the weight on the front end, and this curb on the inside, you can take a little bit of it, but you certainly don't want to go up above where most of the tyre markings are. Otherwise, you're going to lose a lot of time here. This exit, so difficult to try and get it right. You can see even here, I've actually lifted out of the throttle slightly. This curb can be fantastic, but can also be a nightmare around this lap. So what you've got to be really careful of, which I think we do pretty well on this lap there, is if you get a wheel out, as you can just see we were super close to doing in this instant. If you get the wheel out on the grass, you're just getting a load of understeer. You might even end up finding that fence on the outside. If you just get the wheel on the curb, though, it actually chucks the car, kind of forces it in towards the next part of the corner, because this is a really, really long right-hander all the way throughout the exit there. So it's one that I'd say if you're struggling with consistency, I just wouldn't aim for the curb at all. I try and keep it inside the white line, and you probably will have to blend the throttle slightly. But you can see because of that on the exit, we're able to maintain just, you see, absolutely no lift whatsoever on the exit, and that's going to allow you to carry the speed pretty much round to the final corner of the lap. Be gentle over these curbs. You can see we've got this quick flick back to the left. I'm trying to avoid the curb pretty much entirely. You can try to get close to the grass, but really what you're trying to do is just open it up so you compromise your run through this penultimate right-hander as best as possible there. This curb on the inside, again, I would say just avoid it. It unsettles the car. You potentially compromise yourself more speed than it's really worth, and then you would just want to be so gentle on the steering. You can see we've pretty much straightened the car up entirely. Lean on this curbing on the outside through the penultimate corner there, but of course get away from it before you get towards the grass there. In towards this final corner, of course, obviously you've got the white line down the middle of the road. It is a fantastic kind of guideline as to where you want to be aiming for. Just to save, it's probably a quarter of a tenth, not even that. I try and get the car pretty much entirely over the white line as you go under the bridge here. It doesn't make any difference, though. It's just about trying to keep a slightly straighter entry and, on paper, opening up the run in towards the final corner. But as you're about to see, that does come with its own set of risks as well there. So it saves me a fraction of a second, but I would hardly say it is a requirement there. And in towards this final corner, again, you want to be braking pretty much as you see that little bit of gravel on the outside there. You see it's just about coming into shot as we have got onto the brake there. This final corner, genuinely, this is the best I've ever been able to do it. If you watch on the speedo, normally I aim to go no lower than about 86 miles an hour, but we actually rotate the car in quite nicely through a very aggressive shift into third gear there. So you can see we actually keep the speed up above 90 pretty much all the way throughout there, and you can see as we get towards the exit, we do just nick the wheel in the sand there. Somehow we didn't get a 1x for it or anything like that, but it allows me to carry the speed off the exit, and you can see that as you make your way up towards the start-finish line, then that is going to be a 1 minute 21.794 there. Again, I could probably find a couple more tenths if I really wanted to, but I'd rather showcase a lap time that you can actually emulate rather than anything else there. So there we go. That is a lap here of Summit Point Raceway, kickstarting 2024 Season 2 in the Mazda MX5 Cup car. Like I said in the intro, there's quite a few new tracks that are coming to the default content this season. Ledenen, Snetterton, and I think Motorsport Arena, Oschersleben as well. So I'll be doing track guides around all of those circuits as well, which is very, very exciting. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back next week then ready with another track guide.